All right, so you guys send us a ton of stuff about Tesla's Optimus robot. And by the looks of it, you're ready to ditch the Roomba for a real-deal robot butler, like something straight out of the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Well, get ready because we're diving deep into all the latest. Elon Musk dropped some pretty wild updates at that Tesla event, and those Optimus robots were showing off some seriously slick moves. I mean, last year's prototype, it was basically using a walker to get across the stage. But this year, Optimus is out there mixing martinis, strutting their stuff. But the question on everyone's mind is just how long until these bots are taking your orders right in your own living room?
Well, sure, those dancing robots are impressive. But it's one thing to program a bot to bust a move on a stage, and a whole other thing to create one that can navigate, a messy kitchen, let alone actually make a decent cocktail. And let's just say Tesla doesn't exactly have a perfect track record when it comes to meeting their own deadlines.
Huh.
Remember the Cybertruck.
Yeah, point taken. A little healthy skepticism is probably a good thing here.
Oh.
But even the skeptics got to admit, some of those Optimus demos were pretty mind-blowing. Did you see the one where it's taking drink orders?
Mm-hmm.
Like actually mixing drinks and everything? Plus, Musk is claiming these new bots are non-programmatic, whatever that means. And on top of that, you've got tech analysts like Dan Ives calling the tech jaw-dropping.
Yeah, no, the progress is definitely there. The dexterity, the object recognition, it's all remarkable. But when they say non-programmatic, well, it doesn't mean Optimus is suddenly self-aware or anything. It's more about the advancements in machine learning. So instead of, needing step-by-step instructions for every little thing, Optimus can kind of learn on the fly and adapt to new situations. It's still impressive, don't get me wrong, but, got to be careful with the hype.
All right, so Optimus might be able to make a mean martini, but it's not going to be winning any mixology awards for creativity anytime soon.
Yeah.
But let's talk timeline. Musk being Musk, he's already saying Optimus will be up for grabs by like 2025, and then by 2027 we'll have robots hanging out in our homes. But other experts, they seem to have let's just say a more realistic outlook.
Yeah, most experts are saying at least 5 to 10 years. And that's just for the early adopters, the people with money to burn. For the average person, it'll be much longer before these things are in every home. And part of that is, the technology is super complex, but there's also the cost. Musk has thrown out numbers like $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow. That's not just a purchase, that's an investment. It makes you wonder, right? Like, will we see Optimus flipping burgers or sorting packages before we see it, unpacking groceries in our kitchens?
Exactly. Those kinds of places, they're more predictable. So it's the perfect testing ground to work out the kinks. Makes sense to try them out in a factory before letting them loose in our homes. Which brings up a whole other thing. Even if they can make it work, even if the price comes down, there's still a lot to consider.
You mean the whole, just because we can do something, does that mean we should? Like, will people actually want robots in their homes? And what about privacy? That feels like a whole other can of worms. So like, just because you can teach a robot to fold laundry doesn't mean it should be sorting through your dirty socks, right?
Right.
But seriously, though, it's easy to get caught up in the cool factor and totally forget about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like we've been here before, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like every time some shiny new tech comes along, smartphones, social media, you name it, everyone's all in. And then a few years later, it's like, wait a minute, what did we get ourselves into?
Yeah, it's true. It's that classic pattern. But this time, with robots, it feels like the stakes are even higher. Definitely.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about data privacy or how much time we spend glued to our phones. This is about machines that are physically in our space, interacting with our world.
Right. But there are some interesting parallels. Like, remember back when smartphones were brand new?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that same analyst, Dan Ives, the one who called Optimus jaw-dropping,
Yeah.
he claims he actually had like an hour-long conversation with one of the robots.
Whoa, really? That's both amazing and kind of creepy, right?
I mean, all right. But anyway, Ives was making this point about smartphones. He said back in 2007, people thought the whole idea was crazy, completely off the rails. And, well, look at us now.
Yeah, I mean, we went from those giant car phones to basically carrying around supercomputers in our pockets.
Exactly. And his point was that what seems like science fiction now could be totally normal in a few years. And, he might have a point. Humans are incredibly adaptable. We find ways to fold new technologies into our lives.
That's true. But it feels different with robots, doesn't it? Like, I can accept a smartphone, but inviting a robot into my home, one that can move around and learn and interact, that just feels like a way bigger step.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly why we need to be having these conversations now.
Yeah,
It's not just about whether Tesla can pull this off, although knowing them, they probably will.
probably.
It's about the bigger questions, right? As a society, we have to decide what we're comfortable with. What are the ethical boundaries when it comes to robots? And how do we make sure this technology actually benefits everyone, not just a select few?
Those are some seriously big questions, and I'm not sure anyone has the answers yet.
Yeah.
It's almost like the technology is outrunning our ability to really think through the consequences.
That tends to happen, yeah, with any new technology.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so important to be skeptical.
Skeptical, but not dismissive.
Exactly. We can be amazed by what's possible, but we also need to be asking the tough questions.
Right, like what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, and what are the unintended consequences? We need to demand transparency from companies like Tesla.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, it's up to us to shape the direction of this technology through these kinds of conversations and through, hopefully responsible innovation.
I like that. Informed skepticism. It's not about rejecting progress. It's about approaching it with our eyes wide open.
Exactly.
This is the future of robots. It's not being decided in some lab somewhere. It's being shaped by all of us.
I completely agree. The decisions we make today, the conversations we're having right now,
Yeah.
even just drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is too far, it all matters. Because it all feeds into what that future looks like. Will robots be our partners, our helpers, or something else entirely? That's the big question.
It really is.
And it's one we need to start grappling with now.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Speaking of big questions and things we might be too embarrassed to ask, let's say, just for a second, that Musk actually pulls this off. Let's say in a few years you've had a long day, you walk into your kitchen, and there's Optimus ready to pour you a drink. So there you are, face to face with your own personal robot bartender. Does it feel like, I don't know, like the future finally arrived? Or is it more like, whoa, this is a little too Black Mirror for me?
Right. It's a trip just thinking about it. And
Yeah.
it brings up so many questions about, like, where's that line between convenience and, well, I don't know, losing something essentially human.
Totally. So, listeners, I want to know, if Optimus was mixing drinks in your kitchen right now, what would you order? And maybe more importantly, what's that one question you'd be too embarrassed to ask it, even though it's just a machine?
I love that question. It gets at something really interesting, like, would we treat these robots like, I don't know, therapists? Spill our deepest secrets even though they don't have feelings.
It's weird, right? Or would we all become super transactional? Like, hey, just make my drink, robot. No need for small talk.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, maybe the biggest impact of this whole thing isn't just about what robots can do for us, but how they change the way we interact with each other.
Whoa.
Will we all become more efficient? Yeah, maybe. But will we also be more isolated? Or will it make us appreciate those messy human connections even more?
Man, I gotta say, I thought I was excited about Optimus before,
Yeah.
but now you've got me thinking about all this stuff in a whole new light.
That's the thing about this technology, right? It forces us to confront these huge questions about ourselves, about society, about what it even means to be human.
No doubt.
And it's happening so fast.
Way too fast.
It's not just that robots are becoming more capable,
I
it's
know.
that they're making us redefine everything.
Well said. Well, huge thanks to you guys for sending us down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, this was fun.
It's been a wild ride exploring the future of robots.
Yeah.
From dancing bots to, like, full-on existential crises.
The whole shebang.
And to everyone listening, keep those questions coming. Because who knows what we'll dive into next time. Until then, stay curious.